Hi, I'm Tyson Supasadet, Product Marketing Manager here at ExtraHop Networks. Today we're going to be talking about log data versus wire data. It's the data source smackdown. You're looking at an ExtraHop Networks video, so you know we're going to talk about why wire data is the superior data source. But that's not to really bash log data. Log data has been around. It's been very useful. It's just that now there's new technology that makes wire data at scale possible. This topic is going to be of a special interest to you if you're in IT operations or security, and especially if you're operating something like a SIM platform or a log analytics platform such as Elastic or Splunk. The thing, if you have any frustrations around those analytic systems, it's not really because of those platforms themselves. The analytics that they do is great. The frustrations are usually around the data sources, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Because both log data and wire data are data sources. They're data sources for IT. Okay, what is log data? The first thing that log data is it's voluminous. Okay, there's lots of it. There's logs everywhere, and that's why log analytics platforms got popular in the first place. The second thing about log data is that it's self-reported. So it's the system telling you about something, activity that's going on within it. Now, what is wire data? Wire data is all communications on the network. And wire data is what ExtraHop does. So ExtraHop is a network appliance. It gets a copy of your network traffic. It's reassembling those packets into full transactions, flows, and sessions, and then extracting the metadata that you care about. And that's what we call wire data. The second thing about wire data is that it's observed. So the distinction here between self-reported and observed is pretty critical. You can use the analogy of a patient going into a doctor's office. So the doctor is going to ask the patient some questions about how they're feeling, when they started feeling sick, what they've been eating. But then they're going to do some observation as well. They're going to take their temperature. They're going to look in their ear, do the tongue depressor thing, have a stethoscope, and maybe even do some blood work. And that's all observation. So that's the type of distinction you can think about between wire data and log data. Now, today, I want to compare log data and wire data on four categories here. The first is in terms of signal to noise ratio. How noisy is it? Log data requires a lot of effort to get nice and clean. It's hard to get a good feed. That's because not all logs are created equal. It really depends on the application developer or the hardware vendor, what they decided to include in the logging. Whereas wire data is always clean and consistent. And this is not really the virtue of ExtraHop or you. It's really the virtue of the transport and application protocols. They impose rigor on that data source because they need it to communicate information between heterogeneous systems. They use those protocols to communicate the same thing or in a consistent manner. The second category I want to look at is breadth. So, with logs, there's things you can log, and then ... There's things you can log, and then there's everything else. If you're really relegated again to what the person who wrote the logging thought to include. So if there's any edge cases that they didn't anticipate, sorry, you're not going to get that in the logs. And also, you can't install forwarders everywhere. You can't install forwarders on a load balancer or a firewall, for example. And especially as you start to think about the Internet of Things, a lot of those devices are not going to have logging enabled. Whereas wire data is all activity on the network. So that really includes everything that you care about. I mean, if it's not communicating on the network, do you really care about it? And so I'll just leave it at that. The third category that I want to look at is what I'm going to call empiricism. Is how much can you trust it? So if you're an attacker worth your salt, the first thing you do when you gain root access to a system is you're going to modify or erase the log files, kind of like wiping away the digital fingerprints or cleaning up your tracks. Whereas with wire data, there's an adage in IT that says, packets don't lie. Because wire data is observed, there's no way to hide from it. There's no way to turn it off. There's really no way to even know you're being observed. So it's great, especially for security. The fourth thing I want to look at is management. So one of the biggest drawbacks of log data is the time involved to get the right data. Especially if you are dependent on some information being included in application logs. That means you're going to have to go back to the dev teams and ask them to make some modifications and add in some of the things that some of the data that you need. It also means mapping together fields from heterogeneous systems. Whereas wire data, again, going back to the transport and application protocols, those impose rigor on that data source. So it's automatically you're going to have the things that you need just there. It's going to tell you everything that the client and server need to communicate is going to be available in wire data, and you're not going to have to manage it. It's going to be clean and consistent. So thanks for watching the video about log data and wire data. If you want to learn more, we have a great white paper. It's called How to Get More Signal and Less Noise from Your SIM. Just add wire data. Please fill out the form and download that white paper to learn more. And thanks for watching the video.